Essay 2. Vandana Shiva's talk on growth and poverty. Vandana Shiva gives an impassioned speech about how the GDP, gross domestic product, has ruined the lives of people in emerging countries. The GDP only focuses on growth in the abstract world, but does not take into account the subtleties of everyday life. What's worse, emerging countries are very focused on achieving an acceptable GDP that instead of focusing on the well-being of their population, they destroy their livelihoods and also the environment that sustains them. Shiva argues that this gross growth is what's keeping developing countries into a better standard of living. This argument complements what other activists like Udum, Agenda, and Adichie state about feminism, gender equality, and women empowering. Shiva says that most economists say that growth is the only way to eradicate poverty. But what type of growth? The GDP is a flawed system that we inherited from the war, and it can't measure what a country needs because each situation is different. Shiva speaks of empowering the local communities and bringing back the small farming. This and the diversification of the crops will not only sustain these communities but also keep the environment healthy. This also has to do with the role women have in these communities. Most women in poor rural areas are subject to aggression, poverty, and lack of basic services. But if they are empowered, if they are educated and respected, their knowledge will benefit their communities. Like Wudu explained, if women are given the chance to thrive, their communities will thrive too. One of the main problems that emerging countries have is that they give most of their resources to big companies like Coca-Cola, who exploit the land carelessly and then leave it contaminated. This contamination affects the local communities and forces them to keep living in poverty. Allende and Adichie speak about feminism and the role of women, and this is the key to replace GDP and put a more fair system in place. What Shiva says about growth and what Adichie, Allende, and Wudun say about gender equality is not exclusive, but it's something that it has to work together for the communities to succeed. You can't have a community with economic growth if women are mistreated and abused, and you can't have economic growth if you don't empower the communities. These two things need to be in place so an economic fair system can appear. Women have taken a larger role in today's world, but it's not enough, especially in developing countries where the majority of them are still uneducated and abused. Wudun gives many examples of how educated women can succeed. She mentioned a woman who took a little credit and expanded her business and employed most of her community. As a consequence, her community is more prosperous and happy, and that's economic growth despite what the GDP might say about it. Examples like these are the ones that we need in the whole world so a true system of justice can be born. The GDP is an archaic measure system that only brings suffering to local communities. It's an abstract system that does not work well with the many circumstances that the real world has. Like Shiva says, we need a more democratic and healthier system, one that puts the well-being of the community front and center and not the gross percentages that they conjure. Also, this can only be achieved if gender equality becomes a reality, like these activists have shown us that educated and prepared women can be the key to a better future.